Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. O Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Kalachandi Radha Kalachandi Radha Kalachandi Shivare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Okay. So maybe let's chant the Mangala Charanam prayers together. Om Gyanatimandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshunu Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Dadanti Swam Badantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Parakamalam Shri Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sanagaratam Sahagana Raghunatam Tatam Sajivam Sadvaita Sararuta Padajita Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vitakam Vidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanu Sutta Devi Pranami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhaktapinna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpataruvascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prashaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavani Pashyata Deshatarane Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prashaya Bhutale Srimate Nama Krishna Goswaminiti Namane Srila Prabhupada Gurudeva Ki Jai. So, see, today, let me pull up my little book here. We're reading from chapter 16, I think verse 20 through 27. Yes, is it? Let's see. Hare Krishna. Yes, 22 to 27. So, would you like to read, Nayana?
Thereafter, Parashuram joined his father's head to the dead body and placed the whole body and head upon Kushagras by offering sacrifices. He began to worship Lord Vasudeva, who is the all-pervading supersoul of all the demigods and of every living entity.
21 through 22. It's 9:16, 21 through 22 is that verse.
Do I need to read the purport?
After
completing the sacrifice, Lord Parshurama gave the eastern direction to the Hota as a gift, the south to the Brahma, the west to the Advaryu, the north to the Udgata, and the four corners northeast, southeast, northwest, and southwest to the other priests. He gave the middle to Kashyapa and the place known as Aryavarta to Upadarshata. Whatever remained, he distributed among the Sadhyasyas, the associate priests.
Three?
23?
Yes, dear.
1 second, I'm sorry.
Yes, 23.
23. Thereafter, having completed the ritualistic sacrificial ceremonies, Lord Parashuram took the bath known as the Avabrata Sanana. Standing on the bank of the great river Sarasvati, he cleared of all sins. Lord Parashuram appeared like the sun in a clear, cloudless sky.
24.
When Jamadagni being worshipped by Lord Persham was brought back to life with full remembrance, and he became one of the 7 sages in the group of 7 stars.
Which one?
25.
My dear King Parikshit, in the next Manvantara, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, Lord Parshuram, the son of Jamadagni, will be a great propounder of Vedic knowledge. In other words, he will be one of the 7 sages.
Lord Parashuram still lives as an intelligent Brahmana in the mountainous country known as Mahendra, completely satisfied, having given up all the weapons of a Kshatriya. He always worship, adore, and offer prayers for his exalted character and activities by such celestial beings as the Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas.
In this way, the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Person of Godhead, the Lord and the Supreme Controller, descended as an incarnation in the Brigu dynasty and released the universe from the burden of undesirable kings by killing them many times.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees, for reading. So let's look before I speak my verse. So, in text 20, it just says, thereafter Parshuram joined the father's head to the dead body and placed the whole head upon kusha grass. So, if we look at all of these different pastimes, for example, just kind of going back again, these things like to avenge the father, he was Kartavira Arjuna was angered, right? So he first he stole the Kamadhenu cow, and then when he was worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he severed his head, right? So, and then even prior to that, he found that he through his psychic powers, he felt like his wife Renuka had some maybe amorous thoughts about a Gandharva, right? And so what does he do? This is a little background, but what does he do? He asked his sons to kill the mother, and the sons would not do that. But Parshuram took his chopper and killed all of them, his wife and his sons, right? So, and then ultimately, his father Jagmandini asked him for a boon, and he says, please bring them all back to life. So when we read these things as devotees, we can reflect on these, and we can, realize that this Parshuram is, maybe he was doing his dharma in following the order of his father. But if you think anyone else outside of the body of devotees would hear these things, how then Parshuram, he chops off, he kills 21, Kshatriyas, years of Kshatriyas, and there's pools of blood, and these ghastly things occurred. So anyone else hearing about these pastimes outside the body of devotees would think, how can this be an avatar of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, an incarnation of Vishnu? How can this possibly, who can conceive of something so, so ghastly, and then, chopping off heads of mothers and then getting them to come back to life. But we can, as in the body of devotees, we can internalize all these pastimes and think, wow, These are amazing pastimes about the an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that for many reasons he killed the Kshatriyas, right? First, they offended his father deeply, but also, his father was a great sage and a Brahmin, so they offended the Brahmins. They were just offensive, and just as like in the Battle of Kurukshetra, right? When all the miscreants are annihilated. There's just, why? To establish righteousness, right? To put the Pandavas, who were devotees, pure devotees, to establish righteousness. So I just thought I would comment a little bit about that, and then let's just now also, before reading the verse, I thought, let's see, there's one verse I wanted to comment on prior to chanting this verse. Yes. Then, of course, Parsuram attaches the head to his father and brings him back to life. And what happens with his father once he's brought back to life? Does it state here? He became one of the 7 sages in a group of stars, right? And Prabhupada says in that purport, the 7 sages revolving around the pole star. And who is the pole star? Guru Maharaj got that boon, right? To be the pole star. So everything revolves around this pole star at the zenith, and it's called Sapashri Mandala. On these 7 stars, which form the topmost part of our planetary system, reside the 7 sages: Kashyapa, Atri, Vasishta, Vishvamitra, Gautama, and Jagmandagi, and Bhadraraj. These 7 stars are seen every night, and they make a complete orbit around the pole star within 24 hours. Along with these 7 stars, all other stars also orbit east and west. The upper portion of the universe is called north, and the lower is called south. And Prabhupada says, even in our ordinary dealings, we have that in the map, north or south. So what a benediction he receives, isn't it? So now we'll go to text 23, and I'm going to just chant one verse, and then you can repeat. Tatascha Bratastanya Tatascha Varta Bratastanya Sanyan Vidu Dashesha Kilabshaha Vidadesha Kilibishaha Shashavatam Mahanadyam Shashavatam Mahanadyam Vajiva Braya Vimusamam Vijave Baba Vibushamam Tatas Chabritaya Thanam Vidi Bhushe Shakili Vishaha Sarvasvatyam Mahanadyam Raje Vaivara Ivashunam. Would you like to chant? Gata Chava Pratasanam Viduta Sheshan Kibishaha Satasvatayam Manadyam Vrejavya Bravashamam Tataschuta Vabaratnanam Vibushate Patirvira Arachana Mahanadyam Vrejavya Bravashanam Tataschava Britasnanam Viduta Esha Kivirura Sarasvavita Mahadadam Braje Vibhadavashamam. Anyone else? Tatascha Bhartasanastanam Viduta Shesha Kirvisa Sava Satya Mahanajam Praje Vyabra Vashamam. Word for word together. Tata. Thereafter. Cha. Also. Abhavasanam. By bathing after finishing the sacrifice. Whose actions and simple activities. Sarasatyam. On the bank of the great river Saraswati. Mahanadam, one of the biggest rivers in India. Vijay, Lord Parshuram, appeared. Vayabhara, cloudless. Evam Asam, like the sun. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thereafter, having completed the ritualistic sacrificial ceremonies, Lord Parshuram took the bath known as Avabrata Snanya. Standing on the bank of the great river Saraswati, cleared of all sins, Lord Parshuram appeared like the sun in a clear, cloudless sky. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Jnanartha karmano nitram lokamam karma bandhanam. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to the material world. Karma bandhana refers to the repeated acceptance of one material body after another. The whole problem of life is this repetition of birth and death. Therefore, one is advised to work to perform yajna meant for satisfying Lord Vishnu. Although Lord Parshuram was an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he had to account for sinful activities. Anyone in this material world, however careful he may be, must commit some sinful activities, even though he does not want to. For example, one may trample small ants or other insects while walking on the street and kill many living entities unknowingly. Therefore, the Vedic principle of Pancha Yajna, 5 kinds recommended sacrifice, is compulsory in this age of Kali. However, there is a great concession given to the people in general. Yagnaya Sankirtan Prayar Yajjanti Hi Samudasana. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5. One may worship Lord Chaitanya, the hidden incarnation of Krishna. Krishna Varam Shakshnam. Although he is Krishna himself, he always chants the Hare Krishna and preaches Krishna consciousness. One is recommended to worship this incarnation by chanting the Sankirtan Yajna. The performance of Sankirtan Yajna is so special. is a special concession for human society to save people from being afflicted by unknown and unknown sinful activities. We are surrounded by unlimited sins, and therefore it is compulsory that one take to Krishna consciousness and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. What a wonderful purport. So it's so important, there's many in this verse, but it's so important to honor the Brahmins, which was not done as we read all these different pastimes. And so, we chant this prayer every day when we're offering Namo Brahmanya Devaya Cha, Go Brahmanya Taya Cha, Jagadishaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Krishna, who is the worshipable deity of all incarnations, the well-wisher of the cows, the Brahmins, and the benefactor of the whole world. I offer my repeated obeisances to the personality of Godhead. So we understand that this, in this purport as we're reading, that, and Prabhupada has emphasized over and over again. Sometimes in the early days, the devotees would say, why are you preaching this over again, Srila Prabhupada, that we're not this body, that we're not this body, that we're not this body, we're eternal spirit soul. So he would repeat that because we are, we can, even though maybe intellectually we can say we're not this body, because the mind and the senses are constantly pulling us in these bodies. In the beginning, it's difficult to understand that we're not this spiritual body. However, we can understand that we have both matter and spirit, and the controller of both, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this material world is divine because it is given to us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So somehow or another we get these bodies, right? But these bodies can be a curse or they can be a benediction. Oh, thank you, sweet thing. Thank you, honey. So, Hare Krishna. So they can be a curse or a benediction. How are they a curse? Yes. They're always giving us trouble. Yes. And Prabhupada said whether it's sukha or dukkha, whether it's happiness or distress, this is what we experience in these bodies, right? But how can the body be a benediction? Yes, it enables us to serve Krishna. By the grace of the spiritual master and Krishna, we get these bodies to be able to perform devotional service, to engage in the 9 processes of devotional service, to be able to take darshan in this beautiful temple of Sri Sri Radhakalachandji and hear Srimad Bhagavatam day after day. So that's a benediction that we have in these bodies. And, in this purport, it states very clearly, karma bandhana refers to repeated birth and death. And in, 9, I think it's 213, Dino Smin Yataha Dehe, it shows that the body is changing from a little child to youth, to growth, to maturation, to old age, and then death. And it shows this diagram, right? So what is happening there? Time immemorial. We've been going through these different changes of the body. And so, yeah, it's a boon in these bodies to be able to have the oral reception, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to associate with the devotees, to be able to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It's a big boon. So it's advised that we have to perform the only way to transcend the challenges in this material world is to perform devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Here it says to worship Lord Vishnu. And interestingly enough, it says in this purport that Parshuram, although he's an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he feels that he has to repent for the sins of killing so many Kshatriyas. Although it was a righteous act because they were very degraded, nonetheless, he feels he has to purify himself to rid himself of these sins by bathing in the river Saraswati. So how do we understand this? This is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But who else had to felt like they were covered with sin? Yudhisthira Maharaj, right? Yudhisthira Maharaj felt, as a result of all the massive slaughter and the widows that were suffering, he could not be consoled. Krishna could not console him. No one could console him at all. He was completely depressed and felt he was covered with so much sin. And so it was arranged by the Supreme Lord that he went to see Lord Bhima, who was laying on a bed of arrows. And Bhishma Sena, laying on a bed of arrows, was able to console and instruct and pacify Yudhisthira, who felt he was so covered with sin. And by hearing from him, he became completely pacified. And then he could go on to rule the kingdom and in righteousness, which was the whole reason, actually, for the battle, right? Because the Lord wanted to annihilate all the miscreants, just as Parshuram wanted to annihilate all the miscreants, and he wanted to establish, righteousness. So, yes. So, here it describes that there are 5 kinds of sacrifices compulsory. However, the great connection is Sankirtan Yajna. This is so emphasized. I couldn't help but think of Chakri and Vishnu Priya, who have, inaugurated this weekly Sankirtan down in front of Trader Joe's. So, yes, it says the performance of the Sankirtan Yajna is a concession for human society and worshiping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Patita Pavana. He's given us the mercy of delivering the most fallen, and he had his associates that assisted him. Balaram, or Nityananda, understood the mood of the Lord Chaitanya, and he went about with Haridas Thakur, knocking on the doors, begging people, please chant Hare Krishna, chant the holy name. And he suffered on that account, isn't it? He did. He suffered. But he was not deterred. He was continuing to chant and distribute the holy name and assist Lord Chaitanya. And many of his associates also assisted Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, I've been reading I'm reading the Lilamrita, and it's just so wonderful how Srila Prabhupada has imbibed that mood from the very beginning of preaching the mercy of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. That was his mission. He started, I think it was in 1944 during the war. He was trying to publish his Back to Godhead magazine, and he was able to produce one, but then there was a paper shortage, so he could not continue. And then I believe it was in 1952. Every month he was writing, and he was writing the Back to Godhead magazine. Prior to that, he never stopped. He would try to write to all the politicians, noble people, high court judges, people in any form of, what do you say, in any position, any important position that he felt he could preach to. And every single time, what response did he get? Thank you very much, but we're really not interested to pursue this anymore. He was preaching the absolute pure truth that he received from his spiritual master, but people did not want to hear at that time. And we experience that sometime when we go out on Sankirtan, don't we? You know, you're trying to give the holy name, you're trying to distribute books, and what do they say? I'm good. I'm good. They don't know that they're not good. They don't realize that they're suffering because they're in their youthful bodies, they have their high heel shoes on, and they have their fancy dresses while they're walking down the street. But they're all I'm good. And so the benediction, of course, is that we're singing and we're chanting out there, and it's described that Prabhupada says even the trees and the plants, everyone benefits. So knowingly or unknowingly, they're hearing the holy name. And Vaisheshekha Prabhu always said, if you can put the book in their hand, that's even a bigger boon for them, holding a Bhagavad Gita or any of the books that we have. So I feel that it's the most important thing for us to hear and then hear Srimad Bhagavatam, hear Bhagavad Gita, hear the different shlokas, and then go out and deliver that to people somehow or another. If we can speak according to our own realization, and we can speak about the understanding that you're not this body, even though you think you're that body, that we're not, we're eternal spirit soul, and that by chanting the Maha Mantra and by going out on Sankirtan, people can get this, in Spanish it says, un gusto superior, and that shloka in the Bhagavatam is, you get a higher taste. You get a higher taste by not only chanting, but also giving out that mercy, following the footsteps of the previous acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, who traveled all over the world. And in 1952, this was what he was doing. And he was detached from his family at that point. He was like Banaprast. He was months and months away from his family because what he wanted to do was just simply preach the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And at one point he went back to his home and he was inviting people in to listen to discourses on the Bhagavad Gita. But what happened? His family, his wife, and the sons were upstairs. He said they had no interest. He wanted them to come and engage in his preaching work. They had no interest. They were drinking tea upstairs, he would say. So, yeah, we could experience the same thing, that when we're out, people have no interest at all. Occasionally, you'll get someone that wants to twirl around and dance with you in the streets, right? I've seen you do that also, Tulsi Saki. Dancing with the people in the streets and engaging them, pulling them over. And there are people who will appreciate the holy name. Why? Because they have some maybe punya, prior pious work that they can really appreciate and hear the holy name of the Lord. So there's that beautiful verse that I wanted to just chant, and it's Brahmanya Prati Kono Bhagavati Ragu Krishna Prasade Bhakti Lata Bij. Beautiful verse in Madhya Lila 1951. According to their karma, all the living entities were wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems. Some of them are going down to the lower planetary systems, and out of millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets the opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives this amazing boon. So, yes, so it's like a double benediction, isn't it? We get the mercy of both Guru and Krishna that gives us the Bhakti Lata Bij, connects us with the eternal devotional service, with our eternal nature. So, in this body that we're suffering, I mean, it's a concomitant factor. I mean, you stub your toe and you feel, oh my God, this is so painful. Or even just a little hangnail on your finger, you feel so much pain. What to speak of great souls like Jayapataka Maharaj, who is suffering so much in his body, but he goes on, he preaches, he's such a pure devotee. He has almost transcended, and he's constantly, in the hospitals being treated for this, that, and the other, but he doesn't stop in his preaching. And so many great devotees that we know. Our dear Radha Vinod, who's coming to visit us now for Kirtan 50 with his wife, Indra Nilamani, and their daughter. He's also now suffering with this cancer, as I did also. So to think that there's no suffering in this material body, we are an illusion, right? And there's both sides of it. You have good karma and bad karma, and what did Prabhupada say about that? That actually both bind, both good karma and bad karma will bind us and prevent us from our further march for developing pure love for Krishna, isn't it? So beyond, good and bad karma, we have the opportunity to transcend both good and bad karma and try to conquer the pullings of the mind, right? That we have constantly, pullings, desires, pain, anguish, feeling separation even, right? These are things that can bind us to this body, and it all starts with the mind, right? And so we need to, the only solution to all of this suffering and the pullings of the mind and the constant flow of desires is twofold. It's taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. It's taking shelter of the Shastras, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, hearing the pastimes, the beautiful pastimes of Lord Krishna, the unlimited opulence of the Supreme Lord and his associates. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is such a special scripture, isn't it? Because it even pastimes like this with Parshuram that might seem horrific and ghastly, there's a divine message behind it, isn't it? That we have to, and that message, of course, is to annihilate all the miscreants, just like in the Battle of Kurukshetra. So we are, Hare Krishna, Krishna, my dear sister. So we are, we are blessed to be in the association of Shri Shri Radhakala Chanji and be able to hear daily the Srimad Bhagavatam class. If I'm not always here, we always hear online. I guess it's not online today, but we always hear online and sometimes give comments about the exalted devotees giving classes. So I remember when my children were little, we would sing this song, and maybe some of you mothers remember this when you were little. It said, I know I'm not this body, I am pure spirit soul. The body's just a lump of flesh, destined to grow old. I have 2 eyes, 2 ears, a nose, 10 fingers and 10 toes. When I go back to Godhead, this body cannot go. I'm a spirit soul, eternally in bliss, knowledge and ever increasing happiness. Chanting Hare Krishna, our life will be sublime. I just have to remember this all the time. So there was a sweet, you remember singing this to your children, Tulsi. So there was a beautiful devotee, I believe she was in Alachua. She made so many wonderful songs that I remember singing over and over again to my children. So this is a beautiful little message, right? We're destined to grow old. I am old. And I've had many sufferings in this body. But somehow or another, these sufferings can be a real benediction, isn't it? It can be an impetus for us. Instead of saying, why me, why me? It can be an impetus for us to become closer and closer to Krishna, to being stronger and stronger in the desire to read Shastra, which, every day, read a verse, read a chapter. It's a boon, and this is how we transcend suffering, by hearing. Hearing is the essence. So reading is so powerful. Hearing is the essence. And with this benediction of the internet, everything is available with the touch of a button. So you can go to the depths of hell when you push a button, or you can go to the highest realms of the heavenly world with the press of a button. And everything is there. We listen, we have our Gurudev Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Ki Jai. His lectures are there, TKG, Sangha. And on YouTube, you can listen to your spiritual master. Prabhupada is all available. So hearing all of these things it's the cure to hear. Prabhupada emphasized that over and over again. To hear reading is powerful. Hearing, I think, is even more powerful. For me, I find that because it goes deep, deep into the heart. I used to sit in that little seat. This is now Vishnu Priya's seat. But I used to sit there in the day because my Gurudev would come, he'd circumambulate, and he'd go right in front of that little seat. And his holy name would enter into my heart, my ears. So purifying, this hearing process. So, in closing, I think the most important points in this purport, one is that we also have to think about the countless sins, Prabhupada says, unlimited sins that we have created, not just in this lifetime. I shudder to think in my wild and crazy hippie youth what a rascal I was and how many sins I created in this lifetime. What to speak of countless lifetimes of accumulated sin. So Prabhupada emphasizes over and over again that this Sankirtan Yajna, this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, is the cure to help us to conquer the mind, the pullings, even the pain. And, a friend of mine was sharing something with me, how when you're older and you're in the temple, you will all get older one day, everyone. But when you're in the temple and you're older and you're chanting in a rip-roaring kirtan, or you're in kirtan 50 and Madhava's singing and you're just you can go on and you can sit for hours and hours and hear the holy name, hear these great pure souls chanting the holy name, and you get beyond your body. You are totally beyond your body. You're feeling so much of your eternal blissful nature that, and then after a while, and the kirtan fades, you get back into your body, right? And then you feel, oh my gosh, my back, oh my hip, oh my pains. Yes, you get back in your body. When you're older, this happens. Nonetheless, the chanting and the kirtan can lift us. So in order to stay in that blissful state, connecting with your eternal spiritual nature, hearing at home is very important. Otherwise, if you go home, you can fall into the same situation. You're stuck in your material body, and this material body is full of different pains, arthritis, different pains. So I would just encourage everyone. I remember, my spiritual master, I think I've mentioned this before, he always, in those days it was a cassette, and he would always listen. He said, you're in the bathroom brushing your teeth? Listen, hear. You're cooking? Hear. You're sweeping the floor? Hear. Hear a lecture, hear a kirtan. You're driving down the street in your car? Listen, hear. There's so many opportunities to hear. Otherwise, you become completely agitated. You're driving down the street and, someone cuts you off and immediately you're just, oh, wow, what are they doing? They're getting into my space. How offensive, to cut me off, Yes. So many people think that they're their car, right? So that's my message. That's what we've done for many, many years, is just hear lectures, cooking, cutting up in the kitchen, whatever it may be. So I feel that that's the message of this purport, to counter all of our sins in this lifetime and our daily existence, to conquer the pullings of the mind and the senses, is to hear. And here in association of devotees is even more powerful. So we have Kirtan 50 coming up. We have a great opportunity to hear nonstop the holy name of the Lord. I don't know if Lilavati's coming from Denver. Have you talked to her? Maybe she will come. We'll see. I know she's having some health challenges also. And that's a concomitant factor. We can't get free from the physical and mental challenges, only to transcend them by this Sankirtan Yagya. So Hare Krishna. I'm having some health challenges, but I pulled it through to come here today. And, there's many exalted devotees that give class. This is my simple realization from this purport. Thank you very much. If there's any contributions or comments or...
Hare Krishna Mother Nandini, thank you for a
Hare
very
Krishna.
sweet class.
Simple.
And I am aware that you're not feeling well, so I really appreciate you, pushing through nevertheless. And so many beautiful points you brought out. One thing you were saying in the beginning, like, how does someone outside of the association of devotees understand these pastimes?
Right.
And I was thinking, even for those of us who are trying to practice, so many pastimes in the Bhagavatam are so difficult to comprehend. And then you were saying that's why we need to hear and read in the association of the devotees.
Yeah.
And His Holiness Praladnanda Swami was recently here, and he was bringing that point. Why do we hear and then forget right away? It's because we're not accepting it. And that's why
Internalizing
yes.
deep.
So we're not able to internalize it, and so that point really stuck with me. I always attribute forgetting to my age, but it's really that I'm not accepting it.
Yeah.
And so really focusing on accepting that, okay, this is a little difficult to understand, but then this is how Lord Parshuram wants to come and give his mercy to us, and I can't understand it,
Yeah,
but I will
it's
try.
intense.
Yeah.
Even for devotees, when you hear about chopping off your mother's head and your brother's heads and killing all the kshatriyas, it's very, it is ghastly, it's intense. But then when you set aside and think why all this happened, why did he come to perform these pastimes, why? And interesting, right, that he felt he should purify himself from the sins.
Mm. Yeah, so thank you. So my takeaway is like submissive hearing,
Yeah.
so that I can accept the message.
Yes,
So thank you for pointing that out.
thank you, dear.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
I was very nice class. Thank you so
No,
much. I
Prabhu.
really appreciate this emphasis on hearing also. And I was appreciating also that you're mentioning, with the body getting older, that it can be a blessing if you look at it in the right, right light,
Right.
which is very tough, but I commend you and the devotees that do that. And I was connecting that with Srila Prabhupada. You're mentioning Srila Prabhupada, he was doing so many things that just weren't working.
Right.
And I was thinking about that was actually Krishna's blessing in a sense. Because if you find success in something, you think, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. And so you might get stuck there in a sense like that. And I don't mean, you know what I mean by stuck. But it was Krishna's blessing for Srila Prabhupada not to find too much success in that stuff, because he was meant to go do something, bigger,
Right.
And so if we could have that attitude, taking these failures or the failure of the body as a positive thing, and that it's Krishna's mercy. I don't understand it. I don't see it right now, but I know that he's certainly doing things for me. And so I just need to keep on going and be happy in that, and be happy. We can almost be happy that we don't succeed sometimes. You know what I mean? Not that we shouldn't think about what we need to do to change, but so that I was
Nice.
appreciating that connection right there.
Very nice. Yes, suffering can be a great impetus. That's what I was saying. It could be a curse or it could be a benediction. If it's a curse, you say, "Why me?" Oh my God, you wallow in sorrow. But if it's a benediction, it brings you closer to Krishna. Serious, more serious. Yes, thank you so much. And pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and start all over again, right? Because sometimes we slip through our lifetimes. Sometimes, health gets in the way, chemo gets in the way, and, you just pick yourself up and keep going. Actually, I remember during 6 months of chemo, I downloaded the VIHE courses. And so I would just eat my yogurt sometimes if I could, and I'd just sit while I was getting the chemo, listening to different Burijan, so many amazing things on VIHE. So it helped me to, transcend the whole situation, which was challenging. But, so I was hearing, and it saved me a little bit, helped me.
I asked Hanumat Prashak Swami one time, I was like, when am I going to take Krishna consciousness serious? Like, what does it take? What does it take? He said, don't worry. Just keep doing what you're doing. Old age is coming, and it's a good friend for the devotee.
Exactly right. Hare
So when I hear you explaining this, I'm like, oh, that's
That's it. Well, thank you very much, Prabhu. Mantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, vanchakalpa trivishcha, kripa sindhubhyevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Really hard for me to come today. I was really feeling bad. Thank you so much.